Hello again. We're talking about turnarounds, and so far we've touched on the concept of transformative prayer, life-changing prayer, um, initiating, birthing prayer, and we talked about assessment and or evaluation, a way to really get a read on where things are at in detail. And we talked about vision and planning, the importance of being able to see out ahead and then be able to put that down in a way that's understandable to people. Um, and now we're talking about the major step of communication. Once the plan, the vision and the plan are in place, the vision needs to be communicated in several ways. First of all, incrementally. And by that I mean start with the core leaders who should have already heard about it and have even had input to it. Start with them, then work your way out in concentric circles. But make sure that each circle is on the page before you move on to the next one. That's so important. Don't get in a hurry to communicate the vision. Think in terms of when you're communicating initially the vision of a church, or you're re-envisioning the church. Think in terms of taking at least a year to do that. And, uh, and again, start by incrementally communicating to each of the important circles of the church, and take your time doing that so that you make sure that each one is really with you before you move on to the next one, because those circles are circles of influence within the context of your organization. And so you want the influencers to be really on board before you move on to the next group of influencers. The second thing is to communicate pervasively. And by that I mean the vision of the church needs to be communicated, again, especially during the first year, in every medium of the church or organization, i.e. sermons, stories, and by the way, stories are hugely important. If you catch someone doing the vision naturally or supernaturally, you want to make sure and platform that story in some way. Stories are hugely important to building culture, and if you are sharing fresh vision with a group of people, you are really trying to change culture in some way. So remember stories, but also communicate to children's ministries, to youth, through bulletins, through every medium you can think of, consistently. You don't need to use the same verbiage because then it becomes redundant. But again, communicate pervasively so that every nook and cranny of the church or organization hears about the vision over the course of a year. The third thing is to communicate responsively. In other words, don't just communicate it, but listen for the echo. Listening is a huge part of communicating, because often what we think we are saying is not really what people are hearing. So make sure you get good feedback and that you respond to that feedback appropriately. In other words, sometimes your feedback will need to be a re-explanation of what you think you've already said so effectively. Sometimes it will need to involve change. Don't let people change the vision. Once that's established and you're absolutely sure it's the Lord, you don't want to change vision. But the details of the plan might need to change, because all the wisdom of God does not rest solely in you. And when people are allowed to have input into change, it has a tremendous impact on their willingness to be a part of what's happening. That kind of listening that is also responsive engenders real partnership. So there you have it. That's the idea of communicating the vision. And I pray that you will be the great communicator of that vision. Take your time, do it right. God bless you. Talk to you again soon.